Mulan is an incredible fish-out-of-water story that I've found myself appreciating more with age. There, I put my main point right at the beginning. That keeps people's attention, right? Okay, let me explain further. Have you ever felt like you aren't good enough for the people around you? I might as well ask you if you're a human. Of course you have. Let me take that question a step further. Have you ever felt chronically that the person that you happen to be, the real you, isn't the version of you that anyone wants? Have you ever felt like you were born into the completely wrong time and place? I think these are the feelings Mulan feels. Or at least, that's what I'm willing to bet. Mulan is weird. That's pretty plain to see. The movie immediately shows us an example of her natural quirks rubbing her traditional culture the wrong way. She tricks her dog into feeding her family's chickens for her, the act of which interrupts her father's prayer. This is Mulan being herself. But today is not a day that the real Mulan is wanted. Today, she has to be a traditional Chinese bride. The thing is, she sucks at it. Pause real quick. I want to stop to clarify something real quick. I did just say the main character sucks at something, but I wouldn't really sit on that point for too long. Something that Mulan, the movie itself, does really well is it avoids going down a generic underdog story route. As we'll see later, Mulan is, in fact, really good at a number of things. She just isn't really good at the right thing at the right time. I also think Mulan's motivation's a bit different and a bit more nuanced than a lot of other underdog-type characters. But anyways, unpause. She sucks at being a bride. She dishonors her family by completely botching her appointment with the matchmaker, and her father is vocal about it. She appears to be beautiful and smart. Why can't she just do what she needs to do? You guys all know what happens next. Mulan disguises herself as a man in order to take her father's place in the Chinese army, because, her dad is all old and frail and stuff. She goes forth and proves to everyone that, regardless of who she is, she can make a huge difference. This is amazing. She defies the ways of her culture, yet in doing so, saves her father and saves her country. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I'm willing to bet that a lot of people, especially women, really enjoy this movie because of its female empowerment message. Part of what makes Mulan such a fish out of water everywhere she goes is her being a woman in 5th century China? Something like that. I'm no historian, but I know that generally speaking, women weren't treated as actual citizens during this time period, which is obviously awful. By being female in the time and place she was born, she was always funneled into a very specific societal role without much choice. Mulan overcame those societal odds and achieved greatness while still being cool and feminine. I'm sure that Mulan is a common favorite among the Disney princesses. By the way, Mulan isn't actually royalty in any way, but is still considered a Disney princess. This leads me to believe that she must have been popular. Or maybe it was about, the ethnic inclusivity. I'm really not sure. Now, I gotta tell you guys a secret. I'm not a woman. So, when watching Mulan, the idea of being judged incorrectly based on my gender was something that I could sympathize with, but obviously couldn't empathize with. However, I could empathize with Mulan as a whole. In fact, I relate more with Mulan than almost any other fictional character. How? Because Mulan being a woman is not her entire character. Mulan is a character that feels like a person, and I can relate to all kinds of people. When I was but a young lad, I remember seeing this movie in theaters. Wait, when was this movie made? When did this come out? Dude, I was 4! Why do I remember this? Anyways, I remember leaving the theater and craning my neck back to look up at my mom and telling her how much I loved the part where Mulan grabbed the arrow and she climbed the thing and she grabbed it. Remember that? As a 4-year-old, what I picked up from this scene was the fact that Mulan tried her best to do something that she couldn't do before, and she did it while cool music was playing. Maybe that was the first time I ever felt hyped about something, I don't know. I didn't watch this movie constantly while growing up or anything, but I know I saw it periodically. Logically, maybe, my fondness for the movie grew gradually and periodically as well. I continued to be hyped for the Be a Man scene every time I saw it, although to this day I still haven't quite attained the strength of a raging fire. I know, I'm sorry. But, somehow I didn't notice how Mulan climbed the post until I was a teenager. She wraps the weights she needs to carry around the back of the post and uses them as a counterweight to herself so she can rappel up the post. I don't know if this was the intended way of her passing this test or not, but it's creative all the same. Actually, now this scene kind of reminds me of that one scene from the first Captain America movie, where Steve grabs the flag at the top of the pole by making the pole drop to the ground. Anyways, it was also in my teen years that Mulan's song, Reflection, started standing out to me. I don't really think I knew why at the time, though. This is Mulan's main character song, her Disney princess song. Formulaic to Disney movies, it's the part of the movie where the character sings to themselves about their innermost desires. Quasimodo wanted to spend a day out there. Belle wanted the sense of adventure bigger than her normal provincial life. Ariel wanted to live on land. Moana wanted to go out to the sea that she felt was calling to her. And Mulan just wants to be able to be herself. Now, I said earlier that she went into the army in order to protect her father, and in doing so, she proved herself to others. But I don't think that Mulan cared much about doing that. Proving herself to others, I mean. But she did want to know something for herself. Could the version of herself that she thought herself to be useful? Could it be valuable? And the answer is, of course she's useful. Of course she's valuable. She, quite honorably, takes her father's place in the army by disguising herself as Ping. But at every moment of success that she has over the course of this story, Mulan is the one that really deserves the credit, I think. Mulan shows the men in the Chinese army how to creatively use the weights to rappel up the post, which helps them out later in the film. Mulan thinks to use the last cannon to blow up the mountain and cause an avalanche, stealing victory from the Huns. Mulan's compassion then saved Shang when he was knocked out. This compassion made Shang spare her when he found out her secret. And even at the very end, when Shan Yu tries to stab her, she pulls a sick reversal on her by using a fan. This is a sign of femininity winning the day, but it's also a sign of Mulan winning the day. Mulan uses these fans as cheat sheets. Or to hide her cheat sheets, I guess. I'm really trying to drive this home because I think it's really important to the narrative of the film to remember that Ping doesn't save China. Mulan saves China. And I don't think Mulan ever really stopped being Mulan. I don't think she really could stop being Mulan. Somehow, I cannot hide who I am, though I've tried. When will my reflection show who I am inside? The answer to this is whenever you decide. You still need to do what you need to do for your family, because doing those things is an honorable thing. But you shouldn't do so by throwing out the version of you that you really are. Maybe you couldn't do it even if you tried. Those that love you might not understand parts of you, but that has nothing to do with their love for you. They love you because you're you. But if you want to try to do something to prove yourself that their love for you is worth it, I would understand. I wouldn't advise it, but I would understand. Motivations for why we do the things that we do in life are usually surprisingly complicated. I appreciate that Mulan's character motivation has that realistic nuance to it. Mulan wanted to be a good daughter and a good bride for her father and her family, but she also wanted to be able to look at her reflection without feeling disappointed. Disappointed that she's supposed to be this, but she's actually this, and nobody wants that. But they do, they just don't fully understand it, is all. But they can learn to. As the credits theme of this movie says, you gotta be true to your heart. I mean, your heart is wicked and deceitful above all else, but what the song is trying to get at is the fact that you should be the version of yourself that you really are, because that will be the best for everyone at the end of the day. By wrapping the story of Mulan in a message of personal identity, they made it a story that anyone can relate to. Again, not to take away from the message of female empowerment that the film carries, but part of what makes this story so good is that her being a woman is only half of the battle that she has to fight. That's the outside battle. That's the stuff between her and the Chinese law and the Chinese army. But the stuff she faces inside, the stuff between her and herself and between her and her family, man, that's just human stuff. The fact is, if Mulan was a boy, like an awkward, artsy kind of boy who just kind of sucked at being a soldier but wanted to take his dad's place in the army anyway, this would still be a good story. It wouldn't be as good as Mulan being a woman in the army makes her an even bigger fish out of water, and you would also lose some tension because being a boy in the army was never illegal. But you get what I'm trying to say. The story's impact doesn't completely hinge on the main character's gender, rather it hinges on the human struggles that she faces. This is some good character writing, and it's how I, a 21st century mixed dude, can relate to a 5th century Chinese woman. Man, that was a weird sentence. Now that I've decided why Mulan is such a well-told story from my perspective, I have decided to put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna let myself be myself. In my next video, I'm gonna explain my artistic visions for the future and how I can't ignore them any longer. Anyways, be yourselves, everyone. You won't regret it. I hope to see you next time.